What do we have in Cinema 4D? We have pretty straightforward animation of rotating the external ring, maybe some orbital docks around the asteroid, and some animation of lights along the rail, depicting some orbital movement of ships or maybe satellites. We have an asteroid made with the help of spherized landscape with additional displacer. We have the respective orbital ring. We have temple, kitbashed from Gothic elements, and some additional wires, tubes, facilities, and so on. The lightning represented with the dome light and the two area lights for ring lightning. I introduced some redshift environment with a node of scattering for some atmosphere. As far as the structure of project is concerned, let's jump straight into the After Effects. Our passes are rendered, so now we open EXR sequence, importing it and creating new sequence, 32 bits per second, clamp signal for lumetri scopes. And we are creating new sequence using extractor to use beauty pass, and we need to adjust our levels. We are mainly concentrated upon midtones as far as our image is pretty dark, our beauty pass is pretty dark. So we adjust midpoint and duplicate our layer, removing levels from here as far as we using specular lighting, creating some additional lights on the edges. We are using some additional glow effect to crank our brightness, but before that we are changing blending mode to add. Deep glow is the best option, is third-party plugin, and we need to adjust the radius of glow to something about 150 and lower the exposure to about 0.1. After that we are checking the result and proceeding with some adjusting of our sequence. As far as I forgot about the depth mask, so I've rendered it separately. The depth mask is in need for using some star fields later. I'm adjusting levels to make the depth mask less precise. I need just the silhouette of the station. So I've prepared some image of the star field, importing it in the project and using here. I'm using LumaMate of our depth mask, and now my station is visible. The star field is in the blending mode of screen, and I need to add some mask to avoid stars affecting our planet view. It's pretty simple and rough mask, nothing special here, but we do need to adjust the opacity of the star field. Later on we'll adjust its exposure, but now we are feathering the mask to make the transition smoother. Crank up the feather and we are good to go. I'm playing around some blending modes, but I'm pretty fine with screen. So rename layers as far as we have pretty much of them, and for the matter of convenience we do need to give them proper names. Now it's turn for the stars. I've forgotten to lower the black point, and to lower the opacity, to make it less drastic and less visible. Color correction. I'm adding curves and experimenting with some points in the lower part of curve. I'm lowering midtones, and the next thing I need to do is to lower the whites. Whites and highlights are visible in the upper part, so it needs to be lower. So in emission we need to adjust the glow radius and exposure to make it more prominent and more visible. White solid, it's the base of the next essential plugin. It's optical flares. It's another third-party plugin I'm using constantly. Optical flares gives us some prominent results, faking camera effect, and as for me, I'm using Conspiracy preset and Anthrax preset. I'm happy with all the flares and flakes and with lens texture. I'm changing blending mode on transparent and adjusting the flare to make it less visible and to make it brighten the image less prominently. Slowly and gradually I adjust brightness to take the most sufficient result. And of course the scale, as far as I don't need the optical flare to cover all the image. Adjusting the midpoint on the light, and we are good to go with optical flares plugin. Next is the turn of color grading. I'm using Magic Bullet Lux and classic Blockbuster is good to go. I'll lower the opacity to about 40% and check OK. So now we have color grading, and the next thing we need to do is to turn back some sharpness, as far as this is the space image, crisp and sharp. And sharp mask 1.0 is fine, amount 50 is fine, and we see it gives us some needed sharpness. Maybe if it would be static image, it wouldn't be so noticeable, but as far as this is an animation, we do need sharpness. We are saving project and starting render. Of course, I do need to have H264, so we are using Adobe Media Encoder. I'm using the main setting as match source high bitrate, but with teeny changes as far as I do need to loop this animation and to add some sound effects. So we need to adjust some render settings we do need specifically to use maximum render quality and render at maximum depth and change bitrate. I use CBR 15 as far as our animation is for the Instagram, so 15 is fine. Press OK, press play, and our render is proceeding, and we are jumping straight into the Premiere Pro for some simple steps. In Premiere Pro we are unlinking unneeded audio layer, jumping, cutting the last external frame. We are having half of the layer and we are cutting it by half, setting it to the end, and now we have just decent loop. The only thing we need to do is to combine it to make the transition smoother and our loop animation less noticeable. Some breaks must go. We are lowering the opacity of the upper layer, and now our animation is just about perfect. The rotation is smooth, looped precisely, and we can go with sound. I have some ambient track ready. I need to cut it down to make it smooth, to make transition smooth and to make the music loop. I cut it down, use some cut to make the half of this, and repeating exactly the same process as about video. I'm using constant power to make sound layer unified, and the last thing is some bells. Let's imagine that there is some bell sound in space. I'll cut the corresponding part with the shortest bell sound, adjusting it a bit, cutting it here and there, and here we are. We do need to lower the gain of our bell sound, and that's pretty much all.